Hello guys, welcome to Coaster Creator. My name is Paco and this is my first video. Now this build series is going to be called Dusk Wood. So I'm going to be building a theme park called Dusk Wood. It's sort of inspired by that location in World of Warcraft if you're familiar with it. It's kind of like a spooky, scary, almost like a Halloween town theme. So this build is going to be really a spooky theme park. The challenge is, how do you create a theme park that isn't boring, wherein the whole area is based on a spooky theme. So without further ado, let's get into it. I'm building my park entrance for now, and you can see me quickly terraforming sort of like a crater canyon type area with a sort of like a stone bridge over dirty water. So I wanted to give this park like an otherworldly feel, sort of like you're going to sort of like the gates of hell or something like that. So right now I'm putting in some broken stone castle walls on either side of the path, just to give it some more detail right there. And this park isn't exactly going to be like a big park. I think it's going to be more of a smaller park with lots of tiny details in it. And I just want to add that I'm completely new to the game. I just picked it up on the Steam summer sale, and you know, there's a lot to learn in this game. This game is like overly complex, and you know, in a good way. So you can basically create whatever you imagine. And with that said, I have a ton of things to learn, and you know, you'll see me fumbling all over the controls here, trying to figure out what works and what doesn't. So tips are welcome, so leave your tips in the comments below if you'd like to give me some tips on building and designing. So here I'm just adding some sort of like foliage to give it more of an organic feel. Fill in those empty spots between the rocks. And then I'm adding some torches to add lighting to the pathway. Now, I wanted to make this park look dark even though it's even during the day. And which is why I went through with this canyon type idea. I think the whole park is going to be inside of a crater of some sort, just to make it look darker even during the day. And what I'm doing here right now is that I had this idea of flooding the water with animatronic skeletons. So it'd be like there's tons of like suffering souls down there, just, you know, moving about in the water. And I'm not sure if this actually works pretty well. It doesn't look quite right when it's sped up in this video, but in real time it actually looks kind of okay. And here I'm just testing it out, what it looks like at nighttime. So the torches look great. I'm just adjusting the rocks so they look flush, and the skeletons I'm kind of like making them as if they're floating on the water, so I have to move the position down a bit just so they're submerged in the water and they're just trying to escape from drowning, sort of like that. And here I'm adding some fire effects, so it looks like you're going. It looks like sort of like a hellish landscape. So it's interesting to see, you know, Planet Coaster is such a bright, quirky, vibrant game, and I'm trying to see how dark and grim it can get. So here I was just experimenting with the smoke effects and it didn't work, so I opted for mist machines instead. Colorable mist machines. And I just went with the stock mist machines. I think they work really well with the animatronic skeletons in the water. Just made sure to basically flood the water area with those mist machines. And added more fire effects in those inside those caverns, just so they don't look so empty, and to add more detail to it. And I covered the holes where light would be passing through. I just covered them with bushes like that, just so the light would be completely shut off from the entrance, making it look darker than it actually is, even during the daytime. And again, you'll see me fumbling through the controls, trying to figure out, you know, what's available, what's not, since this is my first time building in the game, first time booting up the game actually. And I was just really experimenting with all the different tools that are available, all the different props and whatnot. So here I'm building basically the gate or the entrance to the park, and I wanted it to be some sort of like a giant crypt or mausoleum or some sort of I don't know, creepy gate type of feel. So went with some archways and then crypt walls over there. Here I'm trying to find the right roof for it. Eventually you'll see that I opted for a flat roof and then built a structure on top of it. But basically I had this idea in my head wherein I wanted a suspended bridge and then a structure in the middle to close out the cavern area, so that it'll be some sort of like hellish gate type of thing. So one thing that you guys should know is that I did buy all the DLCs, so I have everything the game has to offer. So I'm trying to use everything I can here to materialize my ideas. So I have the basic structure laid out, sort of like a rectangular building with something protruding there in the middle, and then building another square structure there on top on the roof, adding crypt arches to give a bit more detail to the gate, the ticket entrance. I think that worked out really well. And again, just adding a bit more detail to the building, trying to figure out what works and what doesn't, trying to move things just so to ensure that we don't have Z fighting, or just so things don't look awkward like that. Just trying to make sure everything looks flush. And I was just basically having a lot of fun experimenting, you know, my first time running the game, seeing what I can come up with. I didn't really look up any tutorials or anything like that, so I was just experimenting as I go, and just learning everything, playing everything by ear basically. And I had nothing but a basic sketch in my mind before I started this park. So I'm just trying to add detail to this building, make it more of a believable structure. And you'll see me later, you know, adding things, because I was trying to figure out certain things. So here I'm adding some pillars to the foundations of the building, just make it look more believable. And later you'll see me adding some doors. Here I'm looking through sort of like the Gothic style doors. Maybe put some animatronics up top later on in another video wherein I put the finishing touches on the park entrance. But here I'm trying to add the roof and removed certain parts there where the roof look awkward. So just trying to make everything look flush there. Had to reattach the pillars. And what's interesting about this game is that it's not very intuitive. You know, in my experience, it's not very. I mean, the building tools are very powerful, but there's a steep learning curve to it. It's not like The Sims, wherein you just basically click, drag, and drop everything. This has a steeper learning curve than that. So here I'm just adding the path in between the gateway, just to make sure that it functions as a gateway. So inside I was trying to add some detail, maybe some spikes there inside, and you know, I'll continue to flesh it out in a future video. But I was just basically trying to focus, you know, trying to experiment, you know, what's available, what's not. But we'll focus on the structure for now. And just trying to find certain things to give that area a bit more detail. So I was painting it on a rock surface, and here I'm looking for a sign or a logo just to put, you know, the Dusk Wood logo on top of the entrance. But you know, it was a challenge for me, since this was my first time firing up the game, and I didn't really know how billboards work, or you know, how the signages work right there. So you'll see me cut right now to a nighttime shot wherein I already added some more detail to the main entrance gate, which you'll see later on some screenshots. But right now I'm adding some lighting to make it, you know, some ambient lighting to make it look more of a hellish landscape in the nighttime. So I was having a lot of fun playing around with floodlights. They're called floodlights, the lighting that I used, and I was just making sure none of them are visible, just to make them look like really ambient lighting. And you know, to make it look spooky, I ended up with like dark orange, purple, and of course the fire lighting, and sort of like an interplay between those colors, mixed and matched those colors. And I think it looks pretty spooky even during the daytime. Now I'll take a look at some screenshots of the finished park entrance, or version 1 of the park entrance, I'd say, since I'd probably change it more the more I learn about the game. Alright, so these are the first few screenshots. You can see the ambient lighting, the fire effects, you know, the pyro, the torches, and a bit of the skeletons coming up out of the water. And I think, you know, from a POV perspective, I think this looks pretty cool with the caverns, you know, enclosing the whole entrance area phase. So there you have it, guys, the park entrance of Dusk Wood. This is a build series called Dusk Wood, and this is just part 1. I'll be coming up with a lot more videos soon. This is Coaster Creator. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.